Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to WOR here for the fifth round of the Tier 2 Championship here on the PC side at the Netherlands. Last night we had another great race in Tier 1, and obviously the same track here tonight with a whole different grid of drivers. It should be yet again another very interesting race as I moved on to the wrong screen. But alongside me tonight, as usual, is Mr. Sappy. So welcome in, Sappy. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, mate. I mean, it's good to be here. So, coming off the actual real life Dutch Grand Prix, which, if anyone watched that, let me know how your heart rate is and whether you need to see a doctor because that was certainly a race, and the heavens opened. I think that, ironically, the IRL Dutch Grand Prix got the most accurate representation of British weather that I think I've ever seen in
Yeah.
F1. But anyway, besides the point, we're here with WOR. We've got a great race ahead of us because wet or dry, Zandvoort is an amazing track.
Oh, it is. I think for me, it's one of my favourites. It's a very old style of circuit. It reminds me a little bit of like Hungary and Monaco all put together. It's a great track, and that's one of the reasons why I'm excited to have it on this calendar. It's probably, along with maybe one or two more, my favourite track that we've got on this season. And I'm just looking in the chat, and Jim, as you can see, the camera's working. The new camera's working well, so thank you for that. But yeah, it's going to be a great race, a great grid as we look through. And well, before we do that, we're going to have a little look at the drivers' standings. As you can see, Yannick Schmidt, last season's championship protagonist, was the runner-up. He's sitting leading the championship about 10 points ahead of Joseph Loke and Sappi. If you remember, Joseph won last week, didn't he, in Spain? But unfortunately, he got a penalty, so he dropped down to ninth position.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, there was a lot of stewarding that came out of the race. So we had quite a few incidents. But yeah, main story of that is that Loke did perform really well, but unfortunately they did get some penalty on their name, which did unfortunately drop them down quite a bit in the points in what otherwise would have been a perfect sweep.
Yep, and despite that, Joseph, Declan, and Mirko all very close on points. 7 points separating them in the championship, second to fourth, and about 10 points behind that is Cameron Days on 31. Then we have Daniel Yeltsin, last season's winner. He's on 29 points in sixth. Then we have Skither, who hasn't turned up, I think, for the past two rounds. He's in seventh on 25 points. Kevin Balash, last race's winner after obviously getting that penalty for Joseph Loke. He sits eighth in the championship. Then we got the Czech of Jan Halliday sitting in ninth position on 23 points, 2 points behind Skither and Ballas. And then finally, Daniel Pipinta, who had a good showing out in Saudi Arabia, top pole there. He's sitting in 10th in the championship on 14 points. So still a very close championship, Sappy, with many people looking to slowly work themselves up. You've got Mirko Soriano. He's slowly getting his way up in the championship along with Skither, Ballas, and also Hjelsen.
Yeah, so I've got a few protagonists definitely still in this fight. Key people that I would be keeping an eye on is Yannick Schmidt. I mean, you mentioned Skither not being able to join the race, or at least not being here for the past couple of races. He's once again, according to our attendance records, not going to be attending this race either. So I think that it might be out of contention. We're also not going to see the likes of Kevin Ballas in that matchup as well. So our top drivers all present and accounted for, but yeah, a few that are maybe on the edge of that championship race that might be left out. Unfortunately, that's the way with some of these leagues. You can't always make every single round, but it does still affect your championship in a big way.
Yeah, definitely. We've just got the grid on the screen at the moment. Obviously, we've got many reserves, and as usual, obviously, still coming to the end of the holiday season, the start of the school season. So obviously, people will be busy and might not always, make it to the races. But looking through, we got Jana Martins and Declan Barrett in the Red Bull. Then we have Valentino Labella and Mirko Soriano in the Ferraris. Mercedes, we've got Bogdan Moldovan and Lenny Papinta Alpine, Sergio Sabrino and Wilson Hall. McLaren, Modesto Mena and Leo Urbano. I believe this is Modesto's first race here in this championship. Then Alfa Romeo, we've got Louis Welch and I believe another driver. Not quite sure who, but we'll find out shortly. Aston Martin, we've got Lefted, also known as Conor Muir, alongside Jan Halliday in the Aston Martins. And Haas, Cameron Dowds and Zen van Dyken. AlphaTauri, we've got Jack Humphries and last season's championship winner, Daniel Kelton. And finally, in the Williams, we've got the championship leader currently, Schmidt, alongside Tumas Lamanen, who I believe is making his second appearance here this championship. So yeah, very nice grid. A few drivers you don't see too often in this championship. So you should yet again, an track like this be a very, very interesting qualifying and race.
Yeah, I am in particular looking forward to qualifying, strangely, because I often look at this track in some of the corners, some of the complexes, almost like a roller coaster more than I do an actual circuit. It's very odd to think about, but you look at some of these corners, and especially you look at some of the different sort of left to right sections, the massive level of complexity from the drivers. So, for example, let's take turn three. So I think it's 18 degrees of camber, and that already produces a unique challenge because we're used to maybe 4 or 5 degrees, but to that level of extremity on a track like this, you've got so many options. You've got much more grip, you can take a lot of variation in lines, and it produces some very interesting moves over the course of a race. But yeah, qualifying, it's all about maximizing the track, maximizing your grip while carrying speed, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the race, one of the key parts is turn 1 and turn 11 and 12 at the chicane, because that is where you'll mainly be able to take, and only two DRS zones are on this track, and it's quite a short circuit, I believe, 4.2 kilometres, only 2.6 miles long. And well, as we say that, we are getting into qualifying, so very quickly there, as you can see on the main screen, there we are, loading into the session. Qualifying, I'm sure we'll be seeing times in around the I believe we'll see like 7.9, 7.8, I believe. Obviously might be a little bit, I might be a little bit wrong there, but I believe we saw a 7 point, I think it was 4 from Yano last race in well, last night for pole position. So yeah, somewhere around that 7.7, 7.8 is probably what we'll be likely to see as we can for everyone loaded in. And just to confirm, it is a short qualifying session, but it does say Q1 at the top. That is because of a glitch in the game, which still is yet to be fixed. But we are out trackside.
Yep, and yeah, the main things that people need to keep in mind is with the two DRS zones, of course, you can take a lot of speed coming out of turn 9 and then the start finish straight. But you've got to make sure that you've got your car placed correctly. It's on the brakes pretty much earlier as you can, because especially through turn 10 with the Audi S and turn 11, you take a quite substantial amount of curb. So you need to make sure that your car is placed perfectly. You're not carrying any significant overspeed into the corner, because going into turn 11 you are going to sacrifice a lot, and given that's the last section, yeah, that's the one area you want to get right.
Yep, and well, everyone's rushing out on track already. We've got, I think, nearly 3/4 of the grid out onto circuits. Zan van Dijken being the first one out on track, and he's got one of the Alfa Romeos behind. I think that might be Louis Welch in the other Alfa Romeo. He's sitting second, and then we have a few people all coming out now. I think there's just 5 people left in the pits, yeah, which is Yannick, Wilson, Jan, Tom, Declan, and Modesto. As we come through to the end of his second sector in Box 9 and Box 10, otherwise known as just turn 9 and 10. Well, Xander Van Dijken obviously took 9th position last night in WRT1, qualified in the top 7, got himself all the way through to Q3, and in that grid, I'm sure he'll be able to do a good job at trying to fight for the top 5, or maybe fight for that pole position here tonight in Tier 2. As we head down with him in towards the final couple of corners, in towards the chicanes at turns 11 and 12, and then you'll obviously ride the curb on the exit on your hot lap as you head through into the 2 right-handers at turns 13 and 14. Obviously, turn 14 being the famous Arie Luijendijk corner, the banked part of the circuit. As Zan van Dijken heads through there now with the DRS very shortly to head down towards turn 1 to start the first lap of the session. A few people backing each other up as they go through into the final sector just to give themselves some space and prepare for their laps. As Zander comes through the first couple of corners now in towards turns 2 to the right-hander, and then you want to switch to the inside lines. You're going towards turn 3. Taking it very nicely. Obviously, sometimes you can afford going a little bit wide there, not taking that full apex as you head out of there, up the little crest as you come through. In towards a bit of a roller coaster section to the right now, in towards turn 7, the end of that first sector to 23.631 for Xander Van Dijken as he heads through in towards turn 8 out the other right-hander. Throws it in, obviously wanting not to go into that horrible curb there. Takes that very nicely into turns 9. Then he'll come through to the left-hander at turn 10 break. Just after that 50-metre board. Has a bit of a spin. Now that is what you do not want to do on the all-lap time.
Yeah, that's the pretty much worst place as well that you can lose the rear, because you're right into a DRS zone. If you can get a little bit of a catch, fine, but yeah, that is the worst place to lose it. Luckily, he's in the position where he can make a little bit of a recovery, maybe get another go in. Louis Welch was the driver who was behind him and is looking otherwise on good pace. Xander Van Dyken does have the safety net of knowing that he's still got 15 minutes to go, however.
Yeah, Slibrock sent the fastest lap, a 107.851, lefted about 20 thousandths off that with a 0.866. Bogdan Moldovan about 2 tenths off as Marcus Soriano matches the time of Conor Muir on a 866 as well. We've got Modesto Mena coming through the final few corners. He's on an out lap. We'll watch Cameron Dowd as he heads through the final couple of corners. Daniel Hjelton into P6, Thomas Lebanon into P7. What can Cameron Dowd do? Can he put himself onto the front row? No, he can't, but he does put himself onto the second row, just ahead, of Leroy Brenner's. Valentino Labella goes quickest, 4 tenths behind Louis Welch, and that is also Sergio Sereno into the top 8. A few more lap times still left to come through. Yannick Schmidt, our championship leader, what can he do? Only P5 with a 0.95. Two Modesto Menas on his lap. He's heading through the first sector. He does a 24.2 in the first. That's quite a considerable amount off of what Xander Van Dyken did, so maybe not too representable from him. Jan Halliday is going to be the last to come over the line to set his lap for now. What will it be for Jan? It is pole with an 8.19. Very nice lap there from Jan Halliday. Hasn't had the best season so far, so taking pole here in Zandvoort would be a great way to start this championship charge.
If I saw an Aston Martin around Zandvoort pulling it out of the bag and putting it in a really high spot, I'd have £2. It's not much, but it's weird that it happened twice, especially in such a short time frame. But yeah, Jan Halliday, 0.819, really good benchmark. And really, to be in those high sevens is where you want to be in this qualifying. It's looking like the top spots are going to be netted to the 0.7 in this lobby, so to get a 0.8 or a 0.9 will probably net you around P6, P7 by the time the session is done. That's my prediction anyway.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll probably be somewhere around there, maybe not just shy of that top 10. Wilson Hall, he's on a lap at the moment, obviously driving for PSR in the Alpine. He's heading through in towards the end of that first sector. His teammate is currently in P11. That is Sergio Sabrina with a 0.143 purple in that first set for Wilson Hall as he comes through towards turn 8. Then at the right-hander at turn 9. Brake at the 50-metre board. Throw the car into the inside. Drift 1 on the exit as you head through. In towards turn 10. See where we saw Xander Van Dyken have a spin. Wilson Hall, however, along with another 15 drivers, takes it through there very nicely. As he heads down now in towards a chicane at 11 and 12 on a break just after that 100-metre board. Throw the car in. Use as much curb as you can. Obviously, curbs, we know in this game, give you a lot of rotation. And rotation is key to be quick on this F1 23 game. Then in towards turn 13, and then you have the advanced corner at turn 14. Not the quickest lap so far, it seems, for Wilson Hall, but a very clean one. Got it through very nicely. We'll see what he can do as he heads to the line. What it is for Wilson Hall? It is P12, so just behind his teammate on a 108.199. A few more drivers still coming through. Tom Martinez heading through into the final couple of corners.
And crucially, you just need to get a time on the board at this stage. Find your limits. Don't overdo it. But now they've got something on the board, they know where they can improve on. As Tom Martinez is going to be coming through. It is P14, and it is going to be a 108.438. But there is room to improve. And time that I imagine he's already found over the course of his lap that it will resolve when he comes around next time.
Yep, Declan Barrett takes P6, and on board Jorna Martins, obviously here for his home Grand Prix here at Zandvoort. And if you would have been keeping up with social media over the weekend, you did take part in, I think, some sort of F1 23 Heineken Championship that took place at the Real Life Dutch Grand Prix. And, well, that is not a start you want to qualify in. He's out of the session.
No. I don't even know how many words. It just looks like he understeered or took a little bit too much of the curb there. That left his car completely out to dry. Not really much he can do in terms of correction. Luckily, he is off in the trap, so he can get escorted off the track quickly. It shouldn't affect our session too much, but that is an unfortunate bowing out of qualifying for the second Red Bull there.
Well, it could have been a good lap for him then. I was hyping him up a bit as he come through into the second sector. Xander Van Dyken's in the same place, and it's what happens here at exit at turn 8. That orange and yellow curb, it is painful. You need to make sure whatever you do, if you touch it, maybe just touch it a little bit with your left wheels. Don't touch them fully. If you take your whole car onto that curb, there is no saving the car. That's just how it is with that curb. It was like it on last game, and it's even worse on this game, obviously, with different floor systems, I think, for the cars in F1 23. So, yeah, horrible section, and I think you only did that, I believe, in a PSGR race. I think it was the first couple of races of the season he was fighting for a victory. And he did the exact same thing there. Went off straight off the track at turn 9. Not the way you want to start your home Grand Prix. Xander Van Dyken also here for his home Grand Prix. Starting as he heads down on his lap to turn 1. Had an incident at turn 9 last time. Let's hope he can make it there this time without having any sort of incidents.
Yeah, the key thing is that he just needs to get this second sector down. Louis Welch with a 0.796, so he is going to be the first to break into that magical 0.7 barrier. Conor Moore is going to be immediately back up on that and saying, nope, you've had your fun. I'm going to pip you by 24 milliseconds. That's a 0.772. And we've got a few more drivers who are going to be coming through as well, hopefully in a minute. But Zander Van Dijken is one that needs to make an improvement, as that was, I believe, Leroy Brown across the line. And it looks like a few drivers are making chops and changes, some micro improvements, and sometimes even just swapping places with their teammates.
Yeah, Valentino Labella looking to improve on his lap time. Mirko Soriano headed into the pits, didn't improve on his. We'll see. Can the other Ferrari make an improvement to put himself onto that front row to line? It will be P3 for Valentino Labella at the moment. Yannick Schmidt is on a lap time. He's coming through the first couple of corners now. He's currently in P8 as Lenny Papinto goes into the top 5 with the 107.823, a little bit behind the time of Jan Hade, who's now in P4. Yannick Schmidt heading through the first sector, currently up the roller coaster section in towards turn 7 at the end of the first sector. Is it an improvement? No, it's down by 6 thousandths. It's only in the first sector. It's nothing too harmful. He still has obviously 2 sectors left to go to improve on this lap time. We'll see what he can do as he heads through towards turn 9. That's obviously where we saw Jona Martins have an incident, and Yannick Schmidt showing us perfectly how to take yourself through that corner in towards turns 10 now, with Yannick Schmidt keeping to the inside line, then running wide on the exit as you know, opening up the DRS as you head down in towards turn 11 and 12 at the chicane. He's up by 67 thousandths at the moment. He's good enough to not improve him above his position. He will be stuck in P8 still, so he's got to find at least about half a tenth in his final sets to get himself a worthy position, move up on the leaderboard as he comes through out to turn 14 at Ari Line. Dyke up to the line. What will it be for Yannick Schmidt and the Williams? Is it enough to put himself into the top 5? It will be top 6, so just outside the top 5 for Yannick Schmidt on the back of the third row. I'd say for the championship leader, it's good, but it's not an ideal place to be sitting yourself on the grid, is it, Sappy?
It's not ideal, but still, it's third row. He's got means to improve. There is still 7.5 minutes, so he's going to get at least, I think, 2 strong laps, if not 3. Just playing it a little bit conservative. You can never be too careful. But Yannick Schmidt, he's certainly got a good standing for now. We're seeing a lot of the times converge, so I don't see much volatility in the standings coming about. He just needs to nail, especially according to my metrics, he really needs to improve on the first sector. It looks like he lost a fair chunk of time, and in the second and third sectors, a little bit of just inconsistency across the board, where he could really make up some good time, I think.
Yep, but on board with the other Red Bull, Declan Barrett. He's currently up by half a tenth in that first sector. He's currently on a 107.885, so about what? Just over a tenth behind Conor Muir on his pole position time. So we'll see if Declan Barrett can try and take that pole position away. He's up by just over a tenth, a 104 tenth the improvement. So this is good enough so far to put him into P2, as long as he can keep it nailed in his third sector in towards the final 2 corners, turn 13 at the right-hander, then the second right-hander at Ari Landijk at turn 14, opens the DRS on the exit, well, the entry of the corner, as he heads round up towards the line. What will it be for Declan Barrett? Is it a top 2? It will be pole with a 107.707. A lot of 7s and 0s in that lap time there from Declan Barrett to put himself into a very nice lead, about 70 thousandths ahead of lefted Modesto Mena. He's currently on a 108.577. That is, 8 tenths back from Declan Barrett, so he needs to have a massive improvement. And in the first sector, he's a second down, so Modesto not having a good start at all. Zan Van Dijken on a 31.3, that's obviously not a representable time. We'll see what he can do. As he heads out of turn 3, up in towards turn 4, never a bit of a crest, and you come down in towards turns 5 at the left-hander. And then to the end of the first sector, we'll see what he can do. Is it an improvement? Yes, it is, by 11 seconds. So, yep, this time he's actually on a lap time.
This is the one that he's definitely going to be pushing for. I think he is feeling the crunch more than anyone else, because he has got a lot of work to do. 11 seconds up, so he's got past the key area where he made that mistake. I'd still put him on a theoretical 120, so he needs to nail the second sector as well before we can truly get a good idea of where he stands. 20 seconds up will be a 111 theoretical, so keep the momentum going as we come through the final sector. Key thing here, say hot on the brakes into the apex. Don't be overly aggressive with it, but it looks like he's got the line mostly down. We're coming across to the line. What is it going to be? It's looking very strong, and it is very strong. That is a 0.649 pole for Zander Van Dijken. Literally gone from the bottom to the top.
That's a great lap time there, a 107.649. I said last night he was really quick in T1. He was P7 there. So we expect that is a very good expectation of what we can see from him tonight here in Tier 2 on a 107.6. Hasn't took pole, I don't think, here just yet, and hasn't scored many points in this championship, so will be a good chance for Xander Van Dyken to get himself a decent, 10, 15, maybe even 25 points if he can take the win here at Zandvoort. And Sergio Sereno also up by a tenth of a second would put him onto a 107.9, so what would put him in just inside the top 10. We'll see what he can do as he comes through in towards the final two corners with the DRS open on the entry of turn 14. As you head up towards the line, is it improvement enough for Sergio? No, he heads into the pit lane, so will not be improving on that lap time. Bogdan Moldovan in P12 currently, about 4 positions away from his teammate Lenny Pepinto. We'll see, can he improve? No, he also heads back into the pit lane. We've got Tom Martinez also on a lap time. He's just on his out lap.
Yeah, everyone is going to be heading back now because this is the sort of final primer as we're coming to the final 4 minutes of the session now. So you've got to get your car in. You've got to make sure that it's fully optimized. You're happy with it because this is effectively going to be your last run and no one wants to get caught out. The reason why they're going in what feels like quite early is because if they mess up that lap, they want to have enough of a buffer to get around the line again and go for that last final push.
Yeah, definitely. We've got about just over 3 minutes left in the session, 3.5 minutes. So obviously, Tom Martinez is going to be the first to set his lap. Normally, he's one of the drivers we do see to go out first, just so I think he has himself a nice clear track to not worry about people getting in his way as he comes out the final corner at turn 14. He's speeding that car up into 8th gear as he heads down with the DRS in towards turn 1. We'll see what he can do. Currently in P16 with the 108.034, so for him would be very nice to get himself into the 107s. Don't know if he'll be challenging for the top 5 because they're quite a considerable way away, but it's still a decent lap time no matter what happens here for Tom Martinez out at turn 3. Over a bit of a crest at turn 4, you can see touching some of the marbles there on his front right tyre as he heads through. In towards turn 7 now at the right hand at the end of the first sector. It's a 32,000. He's down by 32,000 on his lap time, so we'll see what he can do in the second and third sector, keeping it in gear 6 all the way through there. Into turn 9, brake at the 50-metre board, throw the car and use that curb for rotation as you head through. In towards turn 10 there, keep that to the inside, then obviously want to go drift wide on the exit so you can get the power down as early and get that DRS open as you head down now, in towards this next chicane. We'll see what it can do. Down by 4,000, so still not an improvement for Tom Martinez. He's got this final sector. He's got to have a massive improvement into turns 13 and 14. We've got our first penalty, so there will be a restart after this qualifying session. We'll see what can Tom Martinez do through turn 14. Up towards the line. Is it enough to put himself onto that provisional pole position? I don't think it will be, but it is enough to not improve, unfortunately.
I was going to say, even if he can make up a 10th, that would put him in P11, but it's not looking like it's meant to be this time round. He might have another chance to go for another go, but I'm not holding my breath for it because we have a very limited amount of time left. We have 1 minute and 45 seconds.
Yep, and you can see Tom's just the way past everyone as he's obviously going to be getting ready to head back into the pits, as I believe Lou Welch is starting his lap.
You've got a few people who are going to be coming through. Yeah, so Louis Welch is going to be one to start. The illegal blocking penalties are coming in left, right and centre, so we're definitely going to have a lobby restart. But yeah, Louis Welch, he just lost the rear coming out of the first corner, so that's immediately going to be an abandon from him, I believe, and I think he's going to make sure that he's fully charged, ready for his final go in about a minute's time. This is what we were saying earlier, that going in about the 4-minute mark is optimal, because you still have that safety buffer for that final push should things go wrong.
Yeah, definitely. As now we get the final laps underway, we've got Valentin Labella currently heading to turn 3. We'll see what he can do. He's the first of all the legal runners so far on their laps as he comes through. Out of that first set to nearly. Very good enough in the first 3 corners. We'll see, is it an improvement in the first? No, it's not. It's down by 67 thousandths of a second. We'll see. If he can improve in the second and third sets. We had a very decent start, very decent banker, but hasn't really improved in the session since then. So he's got this second and third sets left to go. Through towards turn 9, then in towards turns 10 at the left-hander with the DRS very shortly to aid him in towards this next chicane section. We'll see as he takes a lot of curb down there. Is it an improvement? No, it's not. It's purple, but it isn't an improvement there for Valentino Labella. So he's got the third sector to go. He needs an improvement here. We'll switch off him. We'll look at our championship leader, currently in P9, Yannick Schmidt, on a 7.863, about a tenth and a half off of pole position. He comes through in towards turn 13, then turn 14. Can he try and take pole away from Xander Van Dijk? And the time has gone to 0. No more lap times can be started. Now, Yannick Schmidt to the line. It is going to be only P9 for the championship leader. We've got many more lap times coming through. Lenny Pepinta Den on his time. And we have Cameron Dowd doesn't improve. Sergio Sobrino into the top 10. Tom Martinez only into 16th position. Can Lenny Pepinta improve? No, he can't. We got Louis Welch coming through. Back to the front. I think Jan Halliday. He's a 10th up in his middle sector. And it's Xander Van Dokken improves to a 107.602, lefted onto the front row. Leroy Brown into the top 5 with a .777. Many people improving, but not enough to even get into the top 10. Jan Halliday, what can he do? Can he try and take pole position? It will be P3 for the Aston Martin, Mirko Soriano. He's 3,000 up. What can he do? He goes into the wall.
So into the wall, that's a not good place to be. And that could potentially block. Well, looks like it just managed to avoid a little bit of an incident that could have gone very wrong there. But there you go. That is the qualifying session. And we had that quick fire round coming straight through at the end. Big standout, Aston Martin, P2 and P3.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see what happened to Mirko Soriano. Very odd, wasn't it, that final corner? It just seemed like he went straight on, so I don't know if he had a wheel disconnect there, possibly.
Could see. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, looking at the grid here, we are got final results. So Xander Van Dijken with an absolute legendary performance. He's gone and put it pole with a .601. We've got .629 from Lefted, and Jan Halliday completes the top 3 with a .660. And then you can see you've got Declan Barrett, Mirko Soriano, Daniel Yeltsin, Leroy Brown, Valentino Labella, Louis Welch, Jeremy, Lenny Pliner, Yannick Schmidt, Jack Humphrey, Sergio Sobrino, Cameron Dowds, Bogdan Moldovan, Wilson Hall, Tom Martinez, Tagex, Modesto Mena, and Iona Martins. And I think now we are just going to have a lobby restart in a short moment because everyone got a legal blocking penalty stacked up. So, of course, we want to preserve the quali order.
Yes, and before we move over to the camera screens, we'll just quickly have a word from our sponsors at GridFinder. We are back now after the qualifying session, and it was a very interesting one indeed. Obviously, Xander Van Dijken would, I'd say if I didn't see Tier 1 last night, it would have been a bit of a surprise, but after what we saw then, it isn't really much of a surprise that he was fighting for that pole position. Also, you got Conor Muir lefted on the front row in P2, 28 thousandths away from Xander Van Dijken, and I think that is a great showing for the Aston Martin. Obviously, with his teammate also sitting in third, I think they couldn't really have had much of a better qualifying session at all, could they?
No, not really. I think as far as qualifying sessions goes, the cards are perfectly in place. You can't really get much better than that, especially against such difficult competition. I mean, we looked at the PCF ones, and we're talking 0.5s, 0.4s, but here we're so close to that. I mean, we saw a 0.607, I believe it was, and no, it's a 0.601. Minor correction there. That it was just a blistering level of speed that is near unstoppable. So to be at that caliber, like regardless of whether you're say P1, P10, to be operating at that level, these drivers, they got their work cut out, but they've definitely proved that they are some of the best in the game.
Yeah, well, I think you're looking at more of your esports teams development drivers. Many of them in here. I'm not going to mention them all because I don't know which ones are and which ones aren't, so I don't end up getting people's names mixed up. But there's a few people in here who are part of development teams for esports teams, and they've all done a great job to deserve it. And obviously, some of them will also be looking in the future to move themselves up to esports. You look at the likes of Yannick Schmidt, Mirko Soriano, Declan Barrett, Cameron Dow, Jan Halliday, all looking in the future to possibly be fighting for a possible esports seat. They're all moving up the ranks very quickly. A lot of them, and a key feature is they're very young, so they've got a lot of time to develop their skills ready for esports. Obviously, Jan Halliday's one that was in challenges last season. He had 2 podiums, just unfortunately finished outside the top 6, but showed himself his worth on the last game. This game, he's had one of those where he's either really quick or he's really far back. So it's just for him one of those where I think it's more the track that matters more than actual just general skill. And I think Sander Van Dokken as well, another driver who has been showing more, I think, more performance in qualifying than the race. I think the race is probably somewhere where he probably needs to improve a little bit more. As I've seen in a lot of races, he does kind of fall back, during the Grand Prix. But in qualifying, he does a stellar job a lot of the times. I know in PSGL he's took pole twice. Here now he's took pole once. He was top 7 in PC Tier 1 last night. So qualifying is great. So I think he's also the driver the esports teams will be keeping their eye on as well. And yeah, I
Yeah.
think 2 tenths separate, pretty much 2 tenths separated in the top 10. Going into the race, I think the key thing that matters is probably strategy.
Yeah, strategy is going to be the main decider, I think, because where everyone has the pace, and you make a good point of the difference between last game and this game. Last game, I'd more describe as the driving is a bit more on a knife
Hmm
edge, and a lot of drivers have, I'd say, struggled to get out of that mindset of being overly cautious with the throttle at points. Of course, if you're in this tier, you've pretty much sorted that out. But I've talked to a lot of people, and generally the driving behavior is the hardest thing to get used to. The new handling model, well, I say new, it's not that new by this point, but relative to F1 22, it's certainly an adjustment period. But either way, strategy is going to be a big decider. We've seen across the field and with the spread of qualifying that the differential in pace is very tight. Like a tenth separated 6, 7 positions on the grid when we were out in quali just now. So what is really going to make the difference is consistency and strategy, both in terms of tires and in terms of resource management as a whole. We've seen a lot of times that people may have played a little bit more conservatively to start off with and then run their opponents out of, say, battery ERS, leave them in the dust, fire off a reserve of battery that you've been charging for 3 or 4 laps, and they have nothing to attack with.
Yeah, that's something I think that's what we've seen a lot. Obviously in this game, generally being at the front is not the place you want to be. I've seen many of the top level esports drivers said it. Many people in tier 2 here have said it. Being at the front isn't always the best, especially at the start of the race, because then the person behind can save their battery, they can save their tyres, and just sit behind with that DRS. And then when it comes to the final few laps, they can just fly past you at the the next opportunity. Because we know that on this game, the DRS, and slipstream is so much more overpowered than it was last game. So yeah, being second is the way to win. I think a lot of the time on this game. And Jan says, "Can you explain why I'm peaking in 1 hour practice?" I don't know because there's times where you have 10 hours of practice and complete the bottom of the field, so it's quite a weird one, isn't it, that, Jan? Well, it seems you're back to your old roots. As Peso, I remember around here, this is the first track, Jan, that I commentated over on, I think it was PSGL, and it was over you fighting with Bushants for the win, and Bushants left the league because you gave him a penalty which he thought was unfair. So I suppose
Oh
that's a
dear.
fun thing to remember.
Well, the thing that I usually say is that if you are in second place with battery, then you are in prime position to win. That is really the place that you want to be, because by that point, people have usually used up all of their battery. They've used everything up, and they have basically just got to make themselves to the end of the race. So by that stage, if you are in P2 right behind and you are able to pass them coming through into the final lap, there is nothing they can do to attack.
Yep, and well, we're not getting underway just yet, so we might as well take a little look at the calendar. as we can see. So we're currently on round 5, pretty much the halfway point of the season. Next week we head off to Italy, which I believe is Monza. If I'm wrong, correct me. And obviously we have Las Vegas. I wouldn't say I'm excited for, but I'm intrigued for at round 7. Then we have round 8 a week later at Japan. Then we have Abu Dhabi, a track I haven't actually commentated or even raced on this game just yet. Then we have round 10 at Great Britain, always a great track to race on. And then finally, we end it off at Brazil, which I believe, Sappy, is where, wasn't that where we started it off last season?
Yeah, I think that was literally where we started last season. So it's coming full circle. I love that. I mean, what a track to end slash start with, though.
Yeah.
It used to be the way, and it should have always been the way, in my opinion. It's just one of those tracks that is iconic in many ways, not just for its history, not just for its scenery and the locale, but for the racing as well. Like it's that perfect trifecta, in my opinion.
Oh, it is. I love it. And I think it's one of my favourites because it's one of the tracks that, God forbid, on this game, you can actually go side by side the whole way. And I think the unfortunate part is on this game, that depends if the drivers want to make it side by side the whole way. On last game, it was easy, but well, it seems this game people prefer the push off track method, which works, but isn't always the most ethical. But enough of that
Mm.
because, well, what Brazil's only 6 rounds away. We've got Netherlands to come up first, and well, we've got 10 seconds, Sappy, before we head in towards over to begin this Grand Prix. Any predictions going into it, Sappy? And also, before we ask you, anyone in the chat, let us know your predictions as well.
I think if there's going to be any prediction from me, I think it's that Zander Van Dijken is going to make a really, really good start. He's in prime position. He showed us he's got the 1 lap pace. And if he can nail this start, maybe on a softer compound, then he can get away from the competition. I think that we will see Jan Halliday also put in some good work. We saw that he has, again, the pace, P3 in quali. The Aston Martins in general, I think, are going to do well here. But I would also keep my eye on Yona Martins for 2 reasons. One, he is fuming about what happened out in quali. But two, if he can harness that and make sure that it doesn't get to his head too much, you can compose yourself, you can drive that almost fire into the circuit, then he can make a lot of big, big moves. So those are, I guess, my 3 main takeaways.
Well, my prediction is for the win, and it's Jan Halliday. As Peso in the Alfa Romeo, we did this a year and a half ago. I think he can do it here again in Zandvoort. And then let's hope this time the person in first doesn't get a penalty and gives him the win that way. Yeah, no countdown, so we're just going to try and be caught most of them off guard. And we know it's coming, but we still can never, get the reaction time right, can we?
Well, it's always weird because we don't have the formation lap still.
Yeah.
So that, of course, kind of removes any meaningful lead-in that we can have in a lot of cases. But as soon as everyone is geared up, greased, and setups all applied, obviously from the restart, then we can get jumping straight into this. And it should just be a few seconds away by this point. Hopefully so, because usually everyone has their setups ready to go on a preset and they can just throw it in. So even with something like a lobby restart that we've had to do, because of the illegal blocking penalties that sometimes, or pretty much all the time, get unjustly applied, that is an issue that we've mostly circumvented.
Yeah, and I think it's, well, a bug that's not going to change for a long time, unfortunately, due to EA and its lovely game. Well,
In an ideal world, we can just toggle. We can toggle per penalty, whether it's reduced, increased, or off. In an ideal world, that would be the scenario. But we play with the hand that we are dealt, and I think there's a lot of discussions that we, of course, can have, but we're not in the dev room. We're not in the writers' room, as it were. And it's always a matter of perspective. Like what could be very much on our radar might not be on the development, but what is on our radar is a fiery race starts. We're about to get into it. It is 5 red lights. The track is hot, ladies and gentlemen, and we are away. It is time to go racing around Zandvoort, and it is a very good start from Xander van Dijken. Jan Halliday also making a good run, potentially on his teammate, but no, he's going to yield. He's going to be playing it safe, at least for the time being. A little bit of exchanging down the bottom end of the field. Mirko Soriano is going to be going for a little bit of an attack on Declan Barrett. He's going to make it work, at least for the time being, at the inside of turn 3. A little bit of bump in tyres, a little bit of contact. The two Aston Martins are keeping good space with each other. They're managing to get away because Soriano and Barrett have led them a little bit of a crucial window with a bit more tussling coming into Sector 2.
Yep, Yannick Schmidt, sorry, looking to get himself ahead of Louis Welch, who's also had a really fiery start. He's on the back of Valentino Labella, who's on the medium tyres. Only 4 drivers taking the mediums. That is Xander, Lefted, Jan, and Valentino. Was Valentino's go for a move there on Leroy Brown in towards turn 10. That was very close when Leroy just cut him off at the last second. Couldn't put himself up into P7 as we head down in towards this chicane. You can see a little bit further ahead, Leroy Brown looking to size up a move on Daniel Hjelton, who's currently in the top 6. Very nice starters. We've got a few moves further back, but looking at the front yet again, Xander van Dijken 6/10 ahead now of Lefted, and 4/10 Lefted's 4/10 ahead of Jan Halliday. So a very nice race start there for Xander in the Haas. And we can see a little bit further back, that's Valentino Labella now looking for a move on Leroy Brown in towards turn 1, has the inside line, has better grip and puts himself through. Then Jack Humphries also looking for a move on Yannick Schmidt to put himself into the top 10. Yannick Schmidt, our championship leader, very briefly outside the points. They go side by side through in towards turn 3. Yannick up the inside, it's Jack going to have to try and hang it around the outside. A little bit of a push there from Yannick Schmidt, and he keeps the position as then Lenny Papinta puts himself into B11 ahead of Jack Humphries.
Yeah, Lenny Papinto, he managed to bide his time, just make sure that those two were fighting, they were done, and they can seize a crucial opportunity. He's now very hot on the tail of Yannick Schmidt, but I imagine he's not going to let that go easy. Valentino Labella is another one to keep an eye on because they are in a race against time. They're in a sea of hard compound on the medium, so really they need to be making moves up the field. So far, it seems to be struggling with that. They got stuck behind Leroy Brown for quite a significant amount of time. We'll say better half of a lap there. And that's the kind of thing that you need to avoid. So they are making moves up the field, they are making up time, but they cannot afford to waste any more corners behind another car.
Yeah, no, I'm just on board with Lenny. As you can see, Yannick hasn't had the best start. He doesn't seem like he's on his usual pace here at Zandvoort today, as Lefty takes the fastest lap on the mediums. As we head down in towards turn 1, you can see the lane just about 2/10 back as Cameron Dare's looking for a move on. Oh, a bit of contact there between him and Jack Humphries in towards turn 1. Jack being punted off track. That also allows Sergio Sobrino to try and size up a move. Can't do anything in towards turns 2 and 3. Has to back out for now. But yeah, it seems like Jack Humphries and Yannick Schmidt not having the start they would like. Dropping back a little bit through the field. And also another driver who should really be making their way through is Valentino Labella. Currently in P7 on those medium tyres. I would have thought by now it'd be at least past Daniel Hjelton trying to challenge after Declan Barrett, and also Mirko Soriano. He's one who's suffering on this race start. He's 7/10 back from Jan Halliday, so he's got to try and gain some more time. Otherwise, he's going to be at a position where he could lose that DRS, which starts this lap, which would be really bad indeed for his race. As once you lose a DRS around here, you're in such a bad position.
Yeah, we were expecting a bit of a gap to grow between the likes of Jan Halliday and Mirko Soriano, but not to this extent. The crucial thing is he's going to have to burn a bit more ERS, a bit more resource in order to stay within that second barrier, because DRS is now officially opened, and we can see drivers already taking advantage of it. Everyone is under its spell with the exclusion of Tom Martinez, who was a few seconds behind, so I'm not sure whether they went off track or maybe got themselves caught up in a little bit of trouble.
Could have done, and I think that's probably very likely as well. And that is Sergio Sobrino. Round at turn 1. He's had an incident with someone, obviously, down there. That's a big shame for him. Down in P20. Obviously, started, I believe, just outside that top 10 now. Pretty much out of this race, unless you have a safety car, which could come. And Tom Martinez also, was he the one involved with Sergio? Because he's also about 4 seconds back from Modesto Mena. So that would be one that, if anyone knows in the chat, let us know. Back at the top, still Jan Halliday sitting very close behind his teammate. Do we see possibly a move from Jan? Trying to get himself ahead of Lefty, 2.7 of a second. Lefty has a bit of a slide out of that corner. Does it give an opportunity for Jan? No, it doesn't, in towards turns 11 and 12, but he has got a chance down in towards turn 14, as Crispy tells us in the chat that Jack killed Sergio. Well,
killed Sergio. Okay.
It's not ideal at all, is it?
I was going to say, Tom Martinez and Sergio's incidents are completely separate from one another because Tom was well out of the way by the time that Sergio had their incident. So I guess we'll have to wait and see if stewards bring anything to that front. We got a little bit of a battle further down, say P15 battle, P14, sorry, as we've got Bogdan Moldovan, Wilson Hall, and Yona Martins in a very tightly packed group. The trio are constantly looking for moves. You can see the likes of the Alpine weaving to the left, weaving to the right. Through turn 3, they're trying to keep an eagle eye on that Mercedes up ahead and also try to balance defending against the Red Bull behind them.
Yeah, Jonah Martin's had a decent start. He's currently in P16, 2/10 back from Wilson and Bogdan, and yeah, I think he's done a great job. Started last, up to P16. You can't mind at that at all. He's obviously also got, it seems, more pace than Bogdan and Wilson, so if he can make it work, he can try and get himself into the top 40 and then fight after the likes of Jack, Cameron, Lenny, and Yannick to put himself into a possible points position. Yannick Schmidt still in P10 behind Louis Welch, who's also having a very decent race in P9 so far in the Alfa Romeo. And Yannick, at this rate, will only be scoring 1 point. Joseph Lokes told me multiple times that he's ever won a championship on PC in the game, and he'd love to. Instead, he'd love to win one. So, if Yannick finishes in P10 and he gains 1 point, that is good for Joseph Loke, and it'll be like, right, for Joseph, at least I haven't got to try and, get back another win over Yannick. Can just focus on just trying to close that gap slowly. So, not good for Yannick, very good for the likes of Joseph Loke. And also, you got people like Mirko Soriano, Declan Barrett, who are all in this championship fight.
Yeah, that mid-pack mix-up in terms of the championship battle is what's going to really play into the dynamic as we head into the second half of the season. As you say, the likes of Soriano and Barrett are going to be the ones to keep an eye on because they've been consistently putting in good runs. Their attendance has always been up there. And as we can see here at Zandvoort, so far, things are looking bright. So even if they don't necessarily get those top results, they're bringing in those consistent points, and maybe where some of the other championship protagonists have to drop a round or two, as we see Yannick Schmidt is going to be dropping not a round but a position as Lenny put in. I can never pronounce the name. I always Pinter. That's it. It's going to be making a move on Yannick Schmidt for P10 and a points paying position. So more credence to Loke's case.
Yeah, Lenny doesn't actually put his last name fully, so it just says P&O, and it's actually Pepinta. Well, I believe that's how it's meant to be said, but yeah. It'd be nice if he had his full name, so it'd be easy for us, wouldn't it? They do make it difficult for these drivers.
All in good fun keeps us on our toes.
Good point. Lenny's looking to get himself actually ahead of Louis Welch, having a very good start. Took pole in Saudi Arabia, finished in the top 5, I believe, there. I think it was on the P5 or P4. Now looking to get himself an increased point position here in Zandvoort. Currently in the top 10. Sitting about 3/10 back from Louis Welch, who's also having a good race, along with Leroy Brown in the top 8 as well. Leroy hasn't scored many points at all this season, so it will be key for him to score himself that P8 here as well. And also Daniel Kjelsen, he's currently sitting, I think, in the 6th or 7th in the championship, only on 29 points, so he's about 30 back from Yannick Schmidt, so it'd be decent for him to get himself some nice points to move himself up in the championship. Obviously, if you remember, he was last season's winner by, I think, about 30 points at the end of it, so he did a great job last season in pretty much a very, I think, Sappy, pretty much the same grid, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe it is more or less identical. So, curious little tidbit that. One that I'm keeping an eye on right now is Mirko Soriano, because they are on the hard tyres, and yet they are keeping very close contention with the likes of Jan Halliday and Conor Muir. So, crazy to consider that not only that, but they're actually up in terms of resource. They've got more battery than the Aston Martins and the Haas ahead of them on older tyres and keeping pace.
Well, that's a good thing for Mirko, isn't it? It gives them an advantage when either they decide to pit, or if Mirko thinks, right, we'll use a bit of battery and just fly past Jan and, work his way up one by one. He's currently sitting in P4, he's 2/10 back. These hards now seem a lot quicker than the mediums. As you can see, he comes through, he's just, just shy of 2/10 from Jan Halliday. Just under 2/10 at some points as well as they're heading towards turn 9. We'll go onto his onboard as we head through this next section. You can see also Jan looking to size up a move possibly on his teammate Lefty, who's currently in P4, in P2. Now down towards chicane. It's Mirko looking for a move on Jan. Can't do anything just yet here. And neither can Jan on his teammate Lefty. And then obviously Zan van Dijk having a comfortable lead so far over Lefty. And Lefty never really got himself within 2 or 3 tenths at all. So maybe soon it's a chance for Lefty to think, right, we need to try and break away from Mirko. Let's fight and get ourselves back into the lead position.
Yeah, and I always wonder how the teammates are going to be cooperating, if they're going to be cooperating at all, as Conor Moore is going to be making a move down the start-finish straight and into turn one. They are going to be getting themselves around Xander Van Dyken. Is it going to stick is the question, because that Haas does not look like it's giving up without a fight. Through turn three now, it's going to be a very closely knit battle, because you've got an Aston Martin either side of you. So you've got to balance the attacking and defending. You can't put yourself too much out of position, especially as we're going to be coming up very soon to the second DRS zone coming through out of turn 9. That is going to be a crucial clincher, a key point here. So Xander Van Dyken needs to absolutely nail this sector, get a good run if he's going to have any chance of getting his pole back. Is he going to get it? He is going to be in a good place, but he hasn't got the gap anymore. He's fallen off to the point where Weir's going to have the pole position of the race.
Yeah, as you can see, Mirko Soriano looking to gain there on Jan Halliday, but not close enough for tooling towards turns 13 and 14. It's probably normally around, well, coming out of that final corner, you can see if they get a good enough run to get it into turn 1. I don't think he's close enough at all. No, he's not. Xander Van Dyken not close enough at all either to the back of left into that first corner. You can see there a lot more speed carried through for Mirko Soriano over that top 3. Big sludge yet again for Lefty coming in towards that first sector, in towards turns 1 and 2. So he's, having a bit of troubles down there in that braking zone, but still keeping the lead ahead of the 2 other medium runners. And then we got pretty much everyone apart from Valentino on the hards all the way down the grid. And Sergio, you can see 10 seconds off of Modesto now. He's pretty much out of this race, along with Tom Martinez, who's 6.5 seconds off of Modesto, who's currently running in P18. Not the start he would have wanted. You can see now that battle with Yona has kind of broken away. He hasn't really, been applying much pressure onto the back of Wilson Hall. And Wilson is nearly losing that 1 second to Bogdan Moldovan. So it's seeming that battle there has changed as Tumas gets overtaken there. He goes off track. He breaks the marker board, then the braking marker board in towards turn 9. Let's see. How much of it did he break? All of it. Now that could pose some issues.
That could indeed pose a little bit of an issue, because now drivers are going to be a little bit stuck for reference points. Hopefully, should not be too much in the way of effect on our drivers, but of course we'll have to wait and see. For now, what we do know is that Yona Martins is officially out of the DRS train. He is 1.2 seconds behind Wilson Hall, and I will not be surprised on that logic to see drivers start to pull away from him. As we see Cameron Dowds and Yannick Schmidt having a little bit of a battle coming through the first corner. We've got a little bit of tyre bumping. It is going to be Cameron Dowds who is going to yield and head himself back down to P12, but I wonder if this is going to be the start of a several lap tussle between the two.
Yeah, that was a great battle. Then you could see Cameron had it into turn 1, but he went a little bit wide, and that's what then allows Yannick to have a perfect exit in towards turn 2. And now that just shows Yannick hasn't got much pace at all. He's been overtaken by Lenny, Louis, and now Cameron. So, he's going to drop himself further and further away from the points paying positions, which is, when you're a championship leader, something you don't ever want. You never want to be put in a position where you score no points in a Grand Prix where you've not got your person who's in second racing. This would be the perfect opportunity for Yannick to get himself a top 5, top 3, to extend that gap to Joseph. But as it looks like, the gap will stay the same at about 9 points.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like he's making much upward momentum. He is keeping the pace, but keeping the pace isn't good enough right now. He needs to be pushing upwards. He needs to be forcing an advantage where he's not got his main rival in the field right now. That's the problem, is that by other accounts, this would be treated as an okay performance. But with the context, that crucial context in mind, he needs to be moving up.
He does, and I think, well, for some drivers, what he's doing now would be perfect. It would be a very good race, but for someone of his calibre and someone who's fighting for championships as likely as he is, and how much he's fighting for podiums, I think he's scored a podium every race apart from one. This is terrible performance from him in this race, which is, it's not what he wants, but for now he's going to have to deal with it, and he needs to figure out maybe with his engineers right now, where are we losing time? Where do we need to gain time? Because he needs to start making some moves, and he's going to be in a really bad position come the end of the race if he doesn't either make some moves or he has to go for a really bold strategy and see if he can make something work.
Yeah, well, if I was in his position, I'd certainly look to be a lot more aggressive with the battery. And I've said this time and time again, I will sound like a broken record, but I will continue to do it as long as I see it. You're sitting at 100% battery, use it, because every corner by that metric is wasted energy. We see about as Louis Welch is going to be on the defensive for a split second there, or no, is he going to be drag racing with a Mercedes to his right?
Ooh, very close contact, but they make it through very nicely. And Lenny gets the better line coming out of turn one. Louis does have a great exit. There's a head through in towards turn two. Louis keeps himself ahead. Louis made a mistake at the exit at turn 13. That's why he had Lenny Pepinter up his inside at turn 14. That was a great opportunity there for Lenny. Couldn't make it work, however, into turn one, but he knows he's got the chance to do it again. And Yannick was also sitting right behind these two. That's also closed his gap to Lenny and Louis. And then back up the front, there's still nothing going on as Tom Martinez gets himself ahead of Thomas Lamanen, who's now sitting in P19. Surely he's got a bit of damage because he's losing a lot of time, isn't he, Thomas Lamanen?
Yeah, it does look like he maybe has a little bit of underfloor damage. I'm not seeing any visual damage done to things like end plates or wings, but it is very clear that his pace is not where it needs to be. He's taking corners a lot slower than we're seeing other cars do so. He's taking a lot less aggressive, especially on the turn-in on some of these corners and sections. So there is certainly something wrong with that car.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see, though, if he can improve on that as we head through the race. Currently in P19, 10 seconds back. On the safety car, obviously got nothing to do. But Valentino Labella does go into the pits. He's currently in well, he'll be dropping down to about P15, P16 at this moment. He's currently on a set of mediums, going to go to a set of hard tyres. Obviously an undercut there on everyone in the field to try and take himself to the end on that set of tyres. Obviously, in league racing, it's only generally a one-stop race. You never really go for two stops unless the safety car arrives and you're in a position to do more. As now, that puts Lefty ahead of Zander. Jan Herde still in third, along with Mirko Soriano in fourth. And then you start to think, when do these medium tyre runners start to think about pitting? Because surely it's got to be soon, because you can see now the likes of Declan, Mirko and Daniel are a lot quicker than the top three. But just obviously with that DRS, they're never ever close enough to get themselves through on a position.
Unfortunately, I don't have much of a read on their current tyre life for three of them, but what I can say with a fair degree of certainty is that with these tyres being past their prime, and seeing Labella head into the pits is going to be enough of a motivator for next, if not the lap after. These three guys are probably going to have to make the call to come in. They're likely going to be in a very tough spot and try to stretch it out further. We see Jan Halliday is going to be an early one to go into the pits. He knows that Conor Moore is going to be fighting for track position with Zander Van Dijken, so they've said, right, you stay out, keep him busy for as long as possible, make him wear himself out, even if it puts you a little bit past your prime, then you can come in, because track position at this stage, you are in control if you're out ahead. So even if it's not the right call, if you go in, so does everyone else on that tyre.
Yeah, we need to turn one with a 3-wide battle. That's Thomas Lamanen trying to get himself ahead of Sergio Sabrino. Valentino Labella into P18. Now, Jan Halliday comes out just ahead. And if that battle didn't exist then at turn one, maybe Valentino would be ahead of Jan. But they all had a bit of a battle into turn one. And then it obviously cost them some lap time. And it put Jan Halliday into P17 ahead of Labella by 3 tenths of a second. And that shows this undercut is very, very good. And, well, you start to think there the likes of Lefty and Zander should be thinking about pitting this up. Otherwise, they're going to come out behind Jan and Valentino. Remember, Jan and Valentino were about 4 positions apart. They're now only 4 tenths apart after that round of pit stops. So surely the top team need to think about it now.
Yeah, that undercar has proven itself once again to be very, very powerful. And we can see that Conor Moore, aka Lefted, is going to be heading into the pits next up. Zander Van Dijken, interestingly, is going to stay out. I'm not sure whether that is the right call, given the context we've just seen.
Well, we'll see what happens. I don't think it's exactly the right call to stay out, but we'll see if it works. Maybe he hopes for a safety car. Maybe he wants to extend the softs, or just to give himself a bit more free air with that overcut. Now we come down to turn one, and we can see Jan Herde easily ahead of his teammate there in towards that first corner. Valentino Labella put himself into that provisional P2 spot ahead of Lefted now, who's going to drop into P3, which means, well, Zander's going to drop behind that, isn't he? He's going to be down to 4th at this rate.
Yeah, by any metric, he's going to be down in net 4th position. And it is good to get those pit stops out early. I think these medium runners are in a very good position. Now that they've just come out onto hards, they'll likely be able to take them to the end of the race. Having more life in their prime is going to be less of a big benefactor, I think. So in the case of Lefted and Labella, they have, or say, Labella's made really good work of the pit stop and the trade there. But 1-2 laps is not going to make that big of a difference when you're talking about the hard compound of tyre.
Oh, definitely not. As Zandane heads into the pit lane to make his pit stop of the race, we'll go back down and watch left it so we can see whereabouts that Zander comes out. As you can see, that's John Halliday looking for a move there on Tom Martinez to put himself into P15. And then we've got Labella also looking for a move there on Martinez down towards that first corner into P14. Now goes the Ferrari. Zander Van Dijken, where does he come out on the grid? He'll come out just behind lefted, and it'll be actually quite a little bit further back. Where is it? It's within 8 tenths, 9 tenths, nearly a second now between lefters. That's Thomas Lemon again down at turn 1, had an incident, spun at the exit of turn 1, and well, this race for him is going from bad to worse, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really not looking good for him. So that's 2 incidents now. Luckily, he was able to quickly get it back on track, and it does seem like he's going to continue. Whether he retires in the pit lane next lap, we'll of course wait and see. But at least it is one that he can walk away from, and it's not a major incident that's brought out something like a safety car.
Oh yeah, for sure. At least at least he knows he hasn't, caused much disruption to many drivers on the grid. As Zander Van Dijken looking to get himself ahead of Tom Martinez, who's obviously on those older tyres, looking to actually fight Zander into the chicane. No, doesn't he? Actually backs out at the last second. So now Zander into provisional P4 ahead. Well, sorry, he's ahead of Wilson Hall, who's provisionally P5. As we've got Yannick Schmidt and Bogdan Maldvan into the pit lane. They're heading on to a set of probably medium tyres in this race. Yes, they are mediums for those two. We'll see where they come out. They will come out considerably behind because we know the undercut is stronger at the start of the stint, but the end of the stint, the overcut is better because you can work your way through the field. So we'll see which strategy works better, the mediums or the hards at the end of the races. Now, the fight for the lead is between Mirko Soriano and Declan Barrett with Daniel Yeltsin. But I think for the first time this season in the top 3, which is quite surprising to be saying, isn't it?
It's a bit of a weird one to kind of get your head around, but I don't think it'll be long before all these guys start coming into the pits. They've seen some of the other hard runners, especially the top ones in the championship, heading into the pits, and not like you're blindly following them, but when you see someone who is top in the championship make a strategy call, you want to be close to that strategy call, because if you look at their results, you kind of make a bit more sense of it. So I won't be surprised if this lap we're going to see a massive swathe of drivers coming in now.
Well, we've got 1 in, we've got 2, 3, all heading to the pits now. That is Daniel Kjelsen, Lenny Pepinta, Cameron Daves. Lenny gets a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Modesto Mena also in the pits as well on his tyres. We'll see. Jan Halliday should jump past all of them easily down into turn 1. You can see there on the bottom right of your screen, the green dot for the Aston Martin flies past into turn 1. Lefty takes the fastest lap of the race on the hard tyres. And you can see obviously all those that are pitted just gone to a set of mediums. Yannick Schmidt now jumps up ahead of Daniel Kjelsen, Lenny, Bogdan, who at one point he was fighting with Stash behind. So that's worked well for his strategy in this Grand Prix so far. And also Wilson Hall, he's now up to P13, 2 lap older on his tyres than many others, but still making that strategy now for at least working as we come through in towards turn 10. I'm on board with Louis Welch, luckily fighting on the back of Leroy Brown for P3 and P4. Obviously they need to pit still in this race and will drop down because of that overcut strategy a little bit behind Bogdan and Modesto. So we'll just see how the race pans out for them. But so far, decent job keeping it consistent. Only one person's got a penalty. It's only for for speeding in the pit lane. So yeah, no track limit penalties. That's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly shows that drivers have taken the time to sort of find the limits, hone in their laps. Zandvoort is typically a much harder track, in my experience, to get track limits violations on, just by the nature of the course, because with the banking, you're either within the limits or you are off the track.
Yeah.
There is not really an in-between where you can extend, so short of maybe a couple of edge cases, maybe say coming out of turn 9 or even being a little bit aggressive on your lines in the final sector, there's not really much that can happen in terms of track limits.
Yeah, Declan Barrett comes out into P12 ahead of Lenny and just behind Wilson Hall. Cut through the track there to put himself into that position. Bogdan overtaking Tom Martinez down in towards turn 5. Declan Barrett on the back already of Wilson Hall, trying to put himself through in towards P11. Can't get himself through just yet. You can see a lot more pace out for the Red Bull driver as we go on board in quickly as we head through this next section towards turns 9 and 10. Obviously also Daniel Kjelsen in about a P5, P6 position. Yannick Schmidt is the one, I think, through that whole grid along with Jan Halliday and Valentino Labella, who's made that work the most.
Yeah, Yannick Schmidt I'm particularly happy with because even though he hasn't had the strongest start to the race, he saw that the early stop was the way to go. So at least for now, he's looking like he's got a lot of positions to gain through this strategy call. and more gaining is to come, as we've still got 4 drivers who are yet to pit.
Yep, Declan Barrett there looking for a move on Wilson Hall. Also, Lenny Pepinta looking for a move on Wilson Hall, and possibly Lenny looking for a move on Declan Barrett. No, sits back into turn 1. Wilson then goes for an outside maneuver to try and get himself back ahead of the Mercedes. Can't make anything work, so Wilson Hall now back down into P13 behind Lenny Pepinta, but Lenny has got a penalty, so either way, he will most likely drop down behind at the end of the race. And now you can see Lefty looking to close in on Valentin Labella. Yannick Schmidt 3 seconds back from Xander Van Dijk, and we'll see what he can do. If he can get himself back into that 1 second, that's key for Yannick and his race, I think, at this point. He needs to get himself back within that 1 second gap of Xander.
Yeah, it's going to have a massive challenge, though, getting back up there, because he is going to be on a faster compound. We are seeing that time gap fall away, but it might be a little bit too little too late by the time rolls around to where he is within a second. These guys are still going to have the DRS train with one another, and these 3 are certainly leaving absolutely nothing to chance.
Yep, and on this lap alone, they've gained 4/10 on that top 4 pack as Mirko Soriano now decides to head into the pit lane for a new set of medium tyres. He's going for quite a big overcut strategy there. As we look back at the front, it's Valentin Lobel looking for the lead, sits back, obviously wanted to keep that DRS, and Van Dijken as well looking to get himself ahead of Lefty, can't do so, looking for a move into turn 2. Not close enough, the gap is about at 10. Can he send it into turn 3? No, he has to back out of that one. So you can see there, down to turn 1, everyone wanted to back off because they want that DRS, they don't want the lead. It shows how Harville having the lead is, and now, because of all that down at turn 1, Yannick Schmidt's only 2 seconds back. Yannick now looking for a charge through the grid and could make this strategy work heavily. At this point, looking for possibly a podium.
Yeah, I'd say the podium could certainly be on the cards, but as you said earlier, the last place you want to be right now is the lead, because you're either going to play a game of pendulum all the way to the line, which could be a bit unpredictable, or you will see yourself using and losing all of your resource as a means to defend that pole position. So really, as we can see there, Xander Van Dijken is going to be going for a bit of a move on left on Conor Moore here, down into turns 10 and 11. It does look like that Haas is going to start saying, right, I started on pole, I want that back. You've been keeping my seat warm, and I do appreciate it, but I think it's time you returned what's rightfully mine.
So there we are, Xander Van Dijken now into the podium positions. The top 2 pitting, that is Jack and Louis, and Jonas Martins will stay out on track, and he'll technically take the lead of the race, but it's not really the lead because he's got a pit. As now the provisional lead is Jan, Valentino and Xander. Now we see Jonas Martins is about a second ahead up the road. Does he hold them up, or does he let them go? That's the question. We'll go on board quickly with Jan, and we'll see as he catches up to the back of Jonas Martins. Obviously 22 lap tyres to 8 lap tyres. A big advantage there for Jan, so we'll see what Jona decides to do as they head through. Into the end of this first set, they're starting in the middle, and this is where Jonas Martins ended up binning himself in qualifying.
Yeah, that is where the overcut hasn't really worked in Jonas Martins' favour. You can see the 14 laps of difference in grip is going to be massive. And just on the pace alone, you look at them tussling for space. Jan Halliday's kind of a little bit stuck behind, but he is going to have the pace on him, a little bit of resource deploy. But oh, is that going to be a little bit of contact? That's a bit of bumping on the sides. That is contact between the two. It doesn't look like any damage, but there you go. That is Thomas Laminen, who's going to be retiring in the pit lane, calling a local yellow in Sector 1, but it is just in the pits, so nothing to be afraid of there.
This could be a battle because we've got
Jonas going to be staying out, and he's going to be attacking once again.
Into turn 1, looking for a move, and look at this. Yannick and Daniel have already caught themselves up, and this is going to end badly because everyone's trying to put themselves through. We've got Lefty down to P6, Daniel into P5. Jan's still behind. They're going side by side into turn 3. It's Jona up the inside. Can he try and hold it? No, he can't. Jan now takes the lead of the race. A bit further back, we've got Lefty Red. He's gone round down at turn 3. So we have Daniel Kjeltin to P4. Yannick Schmidt now into the top 5. Was down in P11 before the pit stops. And then we've got Jonas Martins still in P2. Now has to defend against Valentino Lebella, who's currently in P3 as we come through. Heading in towards turns 8 and 9, you can see Valentino a lot more pace and not closer to get through. That's Daniel Kjeltin looking for a move up the inside in towards turns 9 and now round the outside into turn 10. Daniel Kjeltin looking to put himself onto the podium in a provisional P2 as that is. Cameron Dave's off track down at turn 9, not what he would have wanted, and could have been a similar incident to what we saw with Jonas Martins in qualifying still. That is now Yannick Schmidt looking for a move on Lenny Pepinta. This is really crazy now, isn't it, on lap 24 of 36?
Yeah, they're just looking for space. There's not really anywhere it can go. You can see the proximity and how close, particularly Yannick Schmidt, is running to some of these other cars. How far they're willing to push those margins in search of a crucial position. You see then Halliday and Jonah Martins is going to be making a little bit of a tussle between themselves for position heading into turn 1. We've got 2 battles going on. We've got Yannick Schmidt around Valentino Labella. You've got Jonah Martins against Jan Halliday heading into turn 3 now. Jonah Martins is going to have the inside. There's going to be tapping of tyres. There's going to be Daniel Yeltsin also making a move coming out of the 18-degree banking and absolutely sending that AlphaTauri as hard as he can go. It's not going to materialize, not just yet, but he is so close to the back of them, and these two are tussling for position up ahead while Yeltsin is priming himself for another move. You can see coming through now. It's going to be turn 7. Turn 8 is going to be trying to seal that in. That is P2 for Daniel Yeltsin. Can he confirm it? He's going to be confirming it as Yannick Schmidt is going to be pumping up into P3. Labella is going to be on the inside with Lenny Papinta as well, and everyone is going to be finally, the floodgates are open against Jonah Martins on those ailing old hard tires. The floodgates are truly open, and now he's dropping through positions.
Yeah, and the defence worked for now. You can see Leroy Brown looking for a move into turn 13, gets himself ahead of Jonah Martins, who tries to catch it. No, he can't. Now we've got Wilson Hall looking for a move on Jonah Martins up the inside at turn 14, and that was a close one there before between the two. Is Bogdan Moldovan also looking for a move on Jonah Martins, and Daniel Yeltsin at the front of the pack takes the lead of the race on lap 26 of 36. Jack Humphries takes the fastest lap, and still Jonah Martins keeping it ahead of Bogdan Moldovan. Bogdan can't get himself through on this Red Bull, and he needs to really quickly. Otherwise, you've got the likes of Mirko Soriano, who's gaining on this whole pack and could look to charge through because he's on 4-lap old tyres. Everyone ahead 6, 9, 25, 12, 8-lap old tyres, all now under big compromisation from possibly Mirko Soriano and those to Declan, Zander, who are all onto a set of softs.
Yeah, Zander crucially, no, he's going to be retiring out in the pit lane because he's sped. He sped in the pit lane. He got 5 seconds. Oh, that's a tap on the rear. That is going to be Mirko Soriano, by intention or not. That's going to be Bogdan Moldovan absolutely in the pits right now. And he's going to be bowing out all the way down in P13. That's looking really rough because we've had Lefty's race be compromised. He lost at end plate, had to replace it. We've got Bogdan Moldovan now down in the bottom. And we've got Cameron Dowds, who also was a little bit of a casualty in some of the chaos that we saw on track. So Mirko Soriano is going to be moving up into P8 and is going to be continuing that charge. But crucially, with that incident, is going to be out of the DRS. And I wonder if there's going to be anything coming out of that. Maybe Stuart's going to be taking a look.
Well, the top 3, I don't think we would have said this before, would we, Sappy? But it is Daniel Kjelsen, Jan Halliday and Yannick Schmidt in the top 3. Currently the podium positions, but you have got the likes of Mirko Soriano now into P8, looking to close in onto the back of Wilson Hall, who's currently in P7. Very nice start for him in this Grand Prix so far. Leroy Brown also in the top 6 with Valentino Labella into the top 5. He's on 13-lap hard tyres compared to everyone else, pretty much apart from Jan, on the mediums. And obviously, Jonah Martins down in P12 now, unfortunately, after having quite a battle throughout that race. It was in P1 now, down to P12 about 3 laps later. It was quite a tough one for him, and obviously on those older tyres wasn't going to ever make anything work, and he's now all the way down and pretty much going to be out of this race practically in terms of getting points, as we've got Cameron Dowds back into the pit lane, gets a penalty, and he will most likely retire. Yes, he does. Both Hasses, one from pole out and the other one who was down, I believe, in that top 15 in qualifying. He's also out of this race, as well as now we've got Jack Humphries looking for a move as well. Onto the back of, that is Louis Welch down to turn 1. He also Lenny Papinta. He's got a penalty, so there's nothing for him to lose. He will look for a move. There's also got Mirko Soriano looking for a move into turn 1.
Everyone's going to be firing those moves into turn 1. It's the key place for overtakes because you've got the DRS and you've got all really close proximity between the likes of Humphries and Welch. So that could have been a little bit sketchy. Not holding my breath given some of the chaos we've seen on track, but that is going to be Louis Welch currently in P9, Jack Humphries in P10 for the move of the Modesto Mainer for P11. One person who has made this work is Yannick Schmidt. We had our doubts earlier. We were doubting how his race performance was doing, but here he is. P3, and could be very much on the cards, depending on the pace of Jan Halliday, to take a P2 spot.
He could be, and Jan, he's on 13-lap old hards. He's got 8 laps to go. He'll be on 21-lap old hard tyres by the end. And that could not be good at all. As we've got Declan Barrett, I think, round. No, it's Jonah Martins down at turn 9, where he DNF'd in quali. He's binned it again. He's hit the wall down at turn 10. Turn 9, sorry.
He's got a puncture.
Oh, has he got a puncture? Oh,
he's got a puncture. His tyre is delaminated on the front left, so he is absolutely out of this. And you can see by this point, he's overheated his tyres too, to the point where he's had to reset back on track. He's just got no control of that Red Bull.
So I hope we don't get a safety car, because that could be crucial for many people's races. We head down now towards chicane. Jona Martin still with that puncture. Pretty much out of it. Now, back to the front. We got... Oh, that's Mirko Soriano off track then at turn 1. He's off the track. Loses the position to Wilson Hall after a little battle there with Leroy Brown. That's not good at all for Mirko Soriano. Then we got Louis Welch closing as well with Jack Humphries. And that is a battle I did not expect to see. As we head through, down in towards this next section of track, we can see Wilson Hall. He's about 2 tenths back, and Louis Welch back, and that's left it at the session on track. Safety car! There's a safety car left its crash date at turn 14. Now this could change it completely.
Yeah, this is completely out of the question. What has just happened? Because we saw a penalty come in for, I believe that was Jona Martins. I'm not sure, and whether that was maybe caused by the puncture.
No, it was lefted.
We saw it.
Turn 14.
Yeah, so lefted is completely out. It's completely shot. And the safety car is out. So
you've got to pit.
All of a sudden, people are going to be pitting for softs.
Yeah.
Everyone is going to be jumping on those softs. You'd be crazy not to.
We need people to pit, and then this could create a... well, if you watched Tier 1 last night, ladies and gentlemen, very similar scenes. We had a safety car around this lap, and... everyone pit. So a few people stayed out. I think it was Jona Wattmeier. He stayed out on his tyres and got to the end well, but many people didn't stay out, and they all pitted. So obviously everyone here copying that as we head into the pit lane. Safety car. Penalty for Modesto Mina. And with 6 laps to go, that's gonna really ruin his chance, and all onto soft tyres. And we'll see how that grid shapes up. So the top 10 as of the safety car. Kjelsen, Halliday, Schmidt. The top 3, then we have Labella, Brown, Hall, Welch, Pepinta, Mirko, Soriano, and Jack Humphries in the top 10. So big changes along the grid. We got Modesto, Bogdan, Declan, Tom, Sergio, and Jona 8 of the points, but does have a chance. Jona does now to get himself some points. That chance is possible.
Louis Welch. Yeah, Louis Welch made up 3 positions in the pits alone. Just a little tidbit there. They overtook Mirko heading into the pit entry. So right on the left, they made it 2 abreast into the pit entry. So they moved up there, and they must have had an absolute god-tier pit stop, because they came out ahead of Pepinta, and I believe Jack Humphries lost a lot of time as well. So yeah, they went from P10 to P7 through the course of a pit stop.
Well, if you was here last season, you'd be saying, well, Daniel Kjelsen in first, Yannick Schmidt in third. Yes, it's nothing, it's nothing out of the ordinary. But for Daniel Kjelsen, he hasn't had a podium yet this season. He hasn't won a race, and this is the perfect opportunity for him to do so. And Jan Halliday as well, this is the perfect opportunity for him to get himself his first victory in this season and try and close in that championship to Yannick Schmidt, who at one point was in P11 and was saying, right, at this point, he's getting no points. And he's in P3 on a provisional podium. So now Joseph Loke's gone from like, oh, we're fine. We can close that gap to, oh no, he's going to end up bridging a 25-point gap to me at this point. That isn't good as actually we've got people overtaking each other. That was Mirko and Jack. But yeah, not good at all for Joseph. Very good for Yannick at this point.
Yeah, Yannick is looking very strong, and Yeltsin and Halliday have also got prime positions to benefit from all of this chaos that's just happened and kicked off. So they have got this prime opportunity, effectively a soft tyre shootout, to get themselves some massive points. They're already looking like in a good position, and their advantage has been chipped away at somewhat thanks to the gap being condensed under the safety car. But still, everyone's going to be on even keel, especially Jan Halliday. He was looking like he was in a very tight spot with those aging hard tyres, and you don't want a Jona Martin situation. So very much looking like a saving grace for Jan Halliday, and a chance to really prove themselves with on-track pace for the likes of Yeltsin and Schmidt.
Yeah, I think we're in for an exciting final few laps, aren't we, Sappy? I think now, for many drivers, all gloves are off. It could be chaos, or it could be absolute scenes here at Zandvoort for the final, 4-ish laps left of racing, I think we'll get.
Yeah, there'll be 4 laps of racing, I think. This safety car usually takes a little bit longer than we otherwise expect, but we're guaranteed 2 laps at minimum. But yeah, I'll say lap 30 to we started lap 33, I believe. Because we would have got the safety car call by now if he was going to head back in.
Yes, and I'm sorry about the Discord notifications. I'll need to put myself on Do Not Disturb quickly. I forgot to do that every single time. Hang on. 1 second. There we go. So no more annoying Discord notifications. And we have the safety car not in this lap. We have the safety car probably next lap. And, well, it's going to be an
Never
interesting...
mind, I
Oh, no,
stand
it's in this
corrected.
lap.
I
Okay.
stand corrected, a little bit later than I expected on the safety car call, but this is going to be Daniel Yeltsin leading the pack. He's got to absolutely nail this getaway. He has to really get the jump on the field, and it looks like he might have done so. Jan Halliday a little bit slow on the uptake as Labella is going to be immediately going for an outside run on Schmidt heading into the first corner. It's not going to be materializing for him, but we do see a little bit of tussling a bit further down. Louis Welch makes a move on Wilson Hall, Tom Martinez and Declan Barra, Sergio Sabrino, Bogdan Moldovan, and they're going to be continuing that tussle down in P12 and 13, including a little bit of tire bumping further down too. But yeah, that is really where everyone is, as you said, taking the gloves off, no holds barred. This is pure racing time.
Yes, and there's battles everywhere on the grid. I'm looking currently at the top 8, top 7 area. We can see Lenny Pipinta looking for a move, surely on Wilson Hall, and we got another incident. That is a safety car again. We got through one lap and another safety car. This time, Modesto Mena and Bogdan Moldovan. Oh my God. Well, that's something, isn't it, Sappy? That is something.
Did they both take each other out?
It seems so. They was both in the wall, and well, it seems after last night we didn't get much of an improvement, did we? Last night,
like
though,
we're going to be getting 2 laps of racing after all.
Well, I said last night, right? The fact there was 6 laps between 2 safety cars was disappointing. This race, there is 2 safety cars within half a lap of racing. So, unfortunately, we can consider Tier 1 as clean last night, which is something I wouldn't word it, but compared to this, it is a big shame. There has been some very bad battles all down the grid, and WR says he hit Yona. Wait, I think that's something like it says Yona had a puncture. Well, it wasn't obviously now, was it? Has he got a puncture again? I don't think he did.
No, but Yona has nothing to lose, so he's heading back into the pits once again.
Wait, sorry, that's about another incident.
That's in reference to an earlier incident anyhow.
Yeah.
There is certainly a discussion to be had between where we draw the line of hard but fair racing and, of course, what is deemed too far. You can have incidents where you may squeeze your opponent just that little bit too much and you're forced to make contact. There's certainly a discussion to be had. I've seen it pop up a little bit more and more in recent times where drivers have been getting very aggressive, very liberal, we'll call it, with the limits. But that is certainly a discussion to be had with the drivers, with the officials. Stewards are certainly not going to be out of work, though, with the current climate. That is for sure.
Yeah, it's well, I didn't quite expect that. We've got what? Is it safety? Surely the safety car's in this lap. Surely.
It will be either this or next lap.
It's got to be this lap, surely.
Next lap.
It's got to be.
It'll be 2 laps of racing. So lap 35 and 36 are guaranteed, regardless of conditions.
Is it this? Well, last time we got notified here. Is it this lap? It's going to be close. Yona's 3 seconds back.
It will be next lap.
Next lap for the safety car.
So safety car is going to be coming in end of lap 34 for 2-lap shootout of racing. And let's hold on to our hats.
Well, the last thing I remembered last time was we got 3.8 miles of racing action left to go to the checkered flag. This time we're going to have 2. So it's not quite like Abu Dhabi 21, but it's close enough, I'd say so. And we saw this pretty much last night in Tier 1. Back here for Tier 2. We got 2 laps of racing. And Sappy, I think a few people won't make it through. It's safe to say. I think in any tier, in any point of the game, there will always be incidents when we get to this situation. I think this is a situation where, you know, people do get over-aggressive all the time. I know for a fact I'd end up probably taking someone if I was in this position because you're like, oh, I'm in P11 or P10 or something. It's like, oh, I want to get positions. And you'll send dive bombs where you can because you want to make positions. So, yeah, I think we'll see a few of those dive bombs. I think the main battle is for the lead. I think one person I'm excited to see is Yannick Schmidt because he was under pressure from Valentino at turn 1. He hasn't had the pace all day. He's got to keep this podium, surely. He wants that podium.
Oh, yeah, he absolutely wants that podium, and I'm pretty confident he's going to have it at least P3. The question is whether everyone is going to keep it clean right to the end, because, of course, there is not going to be a safety car after this point. The game is hard-coded, so the last 2 laps you remain racing no matter what. There is the safety car call. At the normal point, that is usually when we expect the safety car to be called in. And now there's a lot more lead time for Yeltsin to plan their attack, plan their launch. Um, I wonder if the stewards are going to be coming out and making a statement about what happened, but there is definitely going to be some reform, I think, needed in terms of driving standards. But anyway, that is the past, and this is the future. Right now, we look forward and we can see that once again, Daniel Yeltsin is going to be leading the queue for a safety car restart. Deja vu, I've just been in this place before, and so is Jan Halliday because he's once again a little bit late on the restart. Yeltsin once again getting the jump on them. Is 3 abreast, a little bit further down the field of P6 through P8, and that is going to be Wilson Hall off the track. Luckily, it's not going to be a critical incident, but he's all the way down at the bottom of the order, and that is going to leave Labella in P4, a little bit of space of their own. Leroy Brown is going to be trying to make a little bit of catch-up, and you're going to see Tom Martinez also dropping off in a big way as there is a 2x2 pack banging of wheels between themselves. Sergio Sabrino, Yona Martins also in the mix there, and everyone is like it's like the track is optional right now at the bottom end.
Yeah, well, it's something, isn't it? We got Yona looking for a move on Sergio. Sergio also looking for a move on Tom. As we look a bit further up, we've got Pinter. He's defending now from Mirko Soriano, who's on some great pace. Up the inside for Mirko. Can he get himself into P7? Yes, he can. Mirko Soriano into the top 7 now. Trying to charge in after Louis Welch, who's doing a greater job in P5. And we come through onto the final lap of the race.
For the final lap of the race now, and yes, a little bit of contact, a little bit of bumping, unfortunate, but we will see a few drivers kind of lock in, consummate their positions. I don't know whether we're going to see any more big moves, but all eyes are at the front of the grid right now. If Jan Halliday wants to make a move, now is the time to do it. He's on top pace, he's got fastest lap, so you can tell that this is do or die time for that Aston Martin.
It is, and now we come through with Jan Halliday trying to put himself into the lead here on the final lap of 36 through in towards turn 3. Can he make it work there? No, he can't. He's 2/10 back of Yeltsin. He wants this win as much as Yeltsin does. Both of them first time on the podium, first time for victory. Up the inside, he has to back out. Yeltsin takes too little speed through, then Jan has to put on the brakes, and then that puts Yannick Schmidt also into contention for fight for this P201 into turn 9. Do we see any moves here? No, we don't. You can see Jan tries to break more. He can't do anything just yet against Yeltsin, who's doing a great job of defence here on this final lap. We come through out of turn 10 now, down in towards the final couple of corners. You can see using all the battery they can to defend from each other, to attack on each other into the final few corners, into turn 11 and 12. You can see Jan, he can't do anything against Yeltsin. He's done such a great job on this final lap, and I think it's done and dusted. He's coached brilliantly. He's done such a good job in this race. He comes through the final few corners. He did the right strategy, and I think it might be, but actually, Jan's going to gain up to line. Who will it be? Will it be Yeltsin or will it be Jan? I think it will be Yeltsin wins here in Zandvoort.
And that was a really well-fought race. Yeltsin with amazing defence coming out of that final stretch in particular, placing his car even when he had a little bit of a deficit. Jan just held on. He had to hold back. It was too unsafe, and you can't risk something like that in the last lap, especially given that we've seen all the other chaos coming out on track. But a great job from our top 3, and a great job for everyone else who survived what felt like a battle of attrition.
Oh, what a final lap. Oh, that was great. And I'm so happy for the top 3. I'm happy for Yeltsin to win for his first. I'm happy to see Jan back on the podium. And also, Yannick Schmidt, Sappy. I think we was proven very wrong, wasn't we? He must have been listening to us.
As if he heard and said, okay, guys, I hear you, but you're all wrong. He definitely pulled out a really good performance in that latter stage, where we did have our doubts initially. I think maybe he's just playing it safe. It's the setup phase, if you will, but it certainly made it work. Things definitely played in his favour towards the end to come all the way from a P11 to a P3 finish. So I think one of our highest advancements on the grid, short from, I believe, Yona Martins, made it P20 to P11. So 2 big winners coming out of today. Yona Martins and Yannick Schmidt both made really good momentum upwards and certainly made a lot of good work out on track today.
Yeah, so the final classification of this race is Daniel Kjelsen with the win over Jan Halliday and Yannick Schmidt. Then we have Vante Labella, Leroy Brown, Louis Welch, Lenny Pepinter, Mirko Soriano, Jack Humphries and Tom Martinez. His first, I think, second point, scores in this season so far. Then we have Yona Martins just shy of a point there behind Tom. Then we have Sergio in 12th, Declan in 13th, Wilson Hall 14th. Then DNS we have Bogdan, Modesto, Lefty, Cameron, Zander and Tumash. Now that is something I think needs talking about with the stewards. That was, to put it bluntly, disgraceful.
I usually play a lot more of a neutral. I tend to look at the facts, look at the matter of fact of the situation, but there's no really clean way to cut it. Is the aggression levels are just too high. We saw a lot of drivers getting a bit too close for comfort. We saw inklings of it in laps past, in even races past, where drivers were more than comfortable taking a little bit of bumping of the tires, bumping of the side pods to get a move done. We saw that come to a head today. So hopefully this is a once and done. And we don't see that getting into future rounds. But yeah, to see 6 drivers bow out on a track like this, of all places, which is considered relatively safe in terms of track limits, in terms of having major incidents, it is disappointing to see.
Yes, and we do have interviews. We have one interviewee at the moment, which is Jan. We'll drag him up quickly. Hello, Jan. Welcome in.
Good evening.
So it seems that the message from Liam got across to you then.
Yeah, it did.
So welcome in. P2 was looking for a possible win, and obviously that didn't quite go to plan. But those last few laps, what was going through your head with all these safety cars and all these different pit strategies that everyone was doing?
Yeah, I just tried to keep it calm, you know. I knew that I didn't have much practice, so my pace wouldn't be that good, but still it was quite decent throughout the race. But yeah, during the last few laps, the second safety car kind of messed my strategy with getting Daniel in with the DRS on the last lap because there was no DRS because of the second safety car. So yeah, GG's to him on the win.
Yeah, and
And
I
yeah,
think
overall I'm quite happy with P2 considering I've came like I don't know 4 hours ago from 4-day vacation. So yeah, I guess that's decent.
yeah, well, it's nice to see you have a bit of pace, isn't it, here in league racing? But yeah, great job. Do you think you can do it again on the podium, even for a win maybe next time?
Yeah, hopefully. Well, I was struggling a bit on this game so far with quality pace mainly, but yeah, getting that confidence back after
Yes.
today.
Yeah, and that's I think that's one of the key things that you need to help you in this championship. So yeah, well done. Anything from you, Sappy?
I don't really have much else to add. I mean, did you come in with any sort of set plan or expectations for this race? And of course, compared to your end result, was it much different?
My goal was to not kill anyone, which
Success?
which was success. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's like at the end of the day, you have a good clean race, you have some good fun. That's pretty good. I mean, would you think that this is the start of something now? Say, of course, you've got your podium, you've found that you've got excellent form, particularly at Zandvoort. We've got a few good tracks coming up. In particular, say Italy next round. How are you feeling?
Is it Monza or Imola?
Um,
Nathan, I
I
believe
thought
it's
it was
changing one
Monza, but I'm probably wrong. So it's one of the two. It's
Yeah, so
Italy.
I just need to get a good RNG and then I get pole. So
Well, we'll see what happens
Yeah.
And
there.
also a sprint race.
Yes.
oh, sprint race also. Yeah.
Oh.
That's the
Okay.
key. That's the key differentiator as well. Are you a fan of the sprint format, or do you prefer a more traditional quali race?
I think I've done like one sprint race in my life, so I don't have opinion on it. I guess, but when I did that sprint race, I won, so I guess it's good for me.
Hey, you've got an 100% win rate on sprint races. That's how I
Yeah.
hear it. So I see absolutely no issue with this logic.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, Jan, thanks for joining us, and yeah, we hope to see you again next time. So have a good one.
Yeah. Thank you very much, boys. See ya.
See ya. And then we have one more person in. Sappy, would you like to have a chat with race winner Daniel Hjeldsen?
Yep, I think there's a drag him in now. So, Daniel Yeltsin, the one, the only. Welcome to the commentary box, and congratulations on your performance out there today, my friend. How are you feeling?
Yeah, thank you. And feeling very good to finally be back on the top step of the podium here in WR Tier 2. Been a long time coming, I feel like. Been struggling with like quali pace throughout the game, but I'm better, getting better at it. Still not ideal P6 today, but yeah, race was just perfectly executed strategy. Racecraft, everything was amazing. Saving RS as well. Yeah, it was
Was there
perfect
anything
race.
Yeah, like, is there anything in particular that was different about today's race? Because obviously you mentioned in passing that now you've properly found your form, but in the previous races you weren't always at that top step. So was anything in particular different this time?
Well, I feel like obviously every race plays out differently. So yeah, I have basically every race I think gained position from my starting or grid position from my quali. So I mean every race is different, so it always depends on like how lucky you are, etc. Obviously how many positions you will win, and yeah, today yeah, it played out perfectly for me, and yeah, got the undercut on the guys on the same strategy as me, and on the mediums I was a lot faster than the hard runners, and yeah, just got into the lead and survived from carnage, and yeah, controlled the safety car restarts as well, very well. So happy.
Yeah, and that's kind of my like last question before I pass it over to Richie. Is just on the strategy front. Obviously, you got that really good undercut, and then the safety car kind of jigged things around a bit, so everyone ended up being on a full soft shootout in the end. But did you go in with that plan to undercut, or was it a lot more reactive, like more in the moment of the situation where you made that call?
We were debating, me and my engineer, if we were gonna yeah, go with the lap we went in or one lap longer, but yeah, got told to box on the lap, was it 18? And yeah, that was the right decision. And also the first safety car when we boxed for softs, we were pretty sure that was going to be the strategy. Looking from yesterday with Tier 1, and yeah, we were pretty sure everyone were going to box, and yeah, they did. So we had to box, of course. Yeah.
It worked out just fine.
Yeah, definitely. Well done on the victory. Obviously, it's unfortunate that we don't get to see more of that this season so far from you as we did last season. Is there any particular reason why you're not in this championship fight so far this season? Because you haven't been as as on pace as you was last time.
I mean, it's mainly the quality. At the same time, um, uh, yeah, it's quality, and also been a little bit unlucky. For example, lost like 10 points in Qatar.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, finished P2 on track in Saudi as well, and got penalties. So yeah, of course, we all like the excuses if and if that, then etc. But yeah, I think I'll still be like within range to be able to challenge if we just get a few more wins, and
Yeah.
that's going to be the target.
And well, next week we're off to Italy, but we'll ignore that one because I don't actually know what Italy we're at. But
I would guess it's Monza because of real life, but okay, yeah.
could be. But we'll look at Las Vegas, which is the round after. Now, obviously, brand new to F1, brand new to the game. Is that a track you're looking forward to or not?
I haven't really done any
No.
running in Las Vegas. It's gonna be challenging. There are some, I think, RNG curbs there, but yes, it's gonna be tricky. But you got that massive long straight, so
Yeah.
overtaking should be possible, but it's also gonna be like such a slipstream fest, and it's difficult because I have not done a single race, so I don't know if it's gonna be like you can pass 3 cars down the straight, or if you just wanna, yeah, if you wanna stay in the mid pack or be near the front. I don't know, because yeah, everything can happen, and probably a lot of maybe incidents as well, because it's a new track, so it's just gonna be about keeping clean as always, because that's a challenge in most of these races.
Yeah, definitely. Well, today it seemed to work out just fine. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. And we'll hope to see you again next time at whichever Italy it will be.
Yeah,
So, have a good night.
you too.
Right, we are back to the camera stream shortly. Actually, I want to make sure I don't accidentally delete the Discord because there's some very angry people in there today after that eventful ending. We'll just put ourselves back onto the camera screen. And yeah, Yannick says, what a strategy. Yannick, you proved us wrong. At one point, I was thinking you're not going to get points because you dropped back quite severely at the start. But then after that early pit stop, the safety car came out. It helped you heavily. And, well, great job from you if you're still here in the chat. But, Sappy, apart from the dirtiness, what a race that was.
Yes and no. No, on one hand, of course, we're not happy with the safety cars and the amount of people that got knocked out. So there's certainly as I said before, a big discussion on what is considered acceptable racing on all fronts, because the aggression level was very high today, and that of course resulted in some quite high-profile incidents and big send-offs. But on the other hand, the drivers that did survive, they put in 110%. We saw good hard racing for multiple laps from a lot of these drivers, and even if we did occasionally see a little bit of bumping tires, we saw on the whole from the other drivers, we saw nothing but quality and good racing strategy, the rest of it, you name it. It was a top class performance. So it's a tale of two halves, this race. And hopefully the former is one that's left behind in favor of the latter, which is the top racing. And we'll see in the second half of the season, because we're officially crossing that halfway point.
Which doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem like we're already at the halfway
Never
point of the
does.
season. But we said that last season. I remember at the end of last season, I didn't believe we was at the end. It has
Yep,
gone that
you
quick.
said that exact same thing verbatim last season, and we love it. But it's true. It's just in the same vein that when we do these things, whether that's from the perspective of a driver, staff, commentator, it feels like it's over before it's really started, even though the season, of course, runs its course. It feels like you are getting into it, you are building those relationships, you're building those stories with the drivers, and then just you come to the end and you realize, wow, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of drivers had fun today. A lot didn't. I certainly had fun, and I'm sure you did as well, Sappy. But yeah, it was a great
Oh,
race,
yeah.
and I think that is all left from us to say. Thank you everyone in the chat, of course, for being here every week and throwing in the support for the drivers, us, and also the league on a whole. And we'll be back next week. Obviously, make sure to come back here Thursday for the console tiers, and come back Sunday for tier 1. Then obviously we'll be back on Monday, same time for round 6, which is at one of the Italy's, and I believe Monza, but obviously you'll find
Yeah,
out
Monza
next.
sprint is I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it's Monza, and I'm pretty sure that is because of the sprint, to be fair.
Yes. Okay. So you'll find that out if you come back here at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. So not tomorrow, Monday evening, next Monday. So thank you all for joining. We'll see you then. Good night.